Good evening. This is a meeting of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7:01 p.m. and the date is February 13, 2018. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates. The alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for the conflict of interest. Present tonight are members, Mr. Ed Baum, Ms. Lisa Carson, Ms. Kate Housley, and alternates are Mr. Aaron Thomas, who will be a voting member tonight in the absence of Mr. John Gutekunst. And I would like to welcome our newest member, Ms. Jessica Kopelwitz. Welcome. And she will be our alternate member tonight. I am John Golsey, the chair. Also present are zoning administrator, Mr. Rick Sorois, and secretary, Mr. Paul Eschenbacher. At this time, I invite you to view a pre-recorded video on the rules and procedures of the board.
The Athens Board of Zoning Appeals operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator or secretary will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or their representative will offer concluding, summary, or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board makes specific findings of fact, based directly on the particular evidence presented to it, that the standards and conditions imposed in this title, if applicable, have been met by the applicant. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other, or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the Board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the Board to the applicant. Thank you.
Three cases on the agenda tonight. Case number 1805S for substitute will be heard first, followed by case 1806V, the property at 406 Elmwood Place, and the first property was 46 and 46 and a half at Smith Street. And the last case would be 1807V, the property at 859 East State Street. The Board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the Board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, thank you. Be seated, please. Okay, case number one is case number 1805S, the property 46 and 46 and a half Smith Street. Greg Chapman is the appellant. Appellant is requesting under ACC 230502A a substitution of a non-conforming structure, which is a duplex with 10 total tenants allowed, one legal non-conforming parking space, a front setback of 3 feet where 25 feet is the minimum requirement, a left side setback of 2 feet where 12.5 feet is the minimum requirement, a building lot coverage of 60% where 30% is the maximum allowed, total lot coverage of 65% where 60% is the maximum allowance, and lot size of 3,367 square feet where 7,000 square feet is the minimum requirement. Substituting all of that for a triplex or triplex with 6 total tenants, 4 parking spaces where 6 is the minimum requirement, a front setback of 5 feet, a left side setback of 3.5 feet, a lot size of 3,367 square feet, where 10,000 square feet is the minimum requirement. Building lot coverage of 33% and total lot coverage of 61%. So I'm going to summarize all of this. Basically, they are going from a duplex to a triplex. They are going from 10 tenants to 6 tenants. They are increasing the parking from 1 to 4. The front setback of 3 feet is going to be increased to 5 feet. The left side setback from 2 to 3.5 feet. And the building coverage from 60% to 33%. And the total lot coverage of 65% to 61%. Of course, the lot size is not changing. However, for a duplex, you need 7,000 square feet. For a triplex, you need 1,000 square feet.
10,000.
10,000, yeah, square feet. Mr. Royce or Mr. Eschenbacher, anything else we need to know?
Just to get ahead of ourselves, after you're done discussing it and all, for the decision-making process, there aren't any findings or anything, you simply discuss and vote.
Okay. No findings. I just have a question, just for the general purpose question. What is the difference between this and a variance?
Substitution is substituting one non-conforming use for another.
Okay.
A variance is normally creating a non-conformity where there wasn't one before.
Okay. Okay.
And I have a question. There's a reference in page 4 or something to the zone being R2 paren transitional R3.
Yeah, there's a rule that if you have a lot that's right against another zones, that zone can, those rules can apply to that lot.
Okay. So that's the boundary of R2 and R3?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Would the appellant come to the podium, please, and state your name and address for the records and your case?
Greg Chapman, 10 Tulane Road here in Athens. It's quite a shopping list of everything that's wrong with that.
Speak up a little.
Okay. I'll go through a brief history of the property. This is a proposal for a standalone property on a platted lot that doesn't meet hardly anything. But for me, this is part of a larger project that I started 24 years ago, which was 16 houses that were acquired all at one time. Houses that were in pretty rough shape, including the one we're talking about tonight. They all were occupied at the time of the purchase. And people, I don't know, people that aren't familiar with what the neighborhood was, I brought a couple before and after pictures. I've been before the board before. We've done a couple of other projects as a substitution. And I could show you some before and afters people like to look at. I know this neighborhood, 24 years ago, you walked through it, it was like walking back in time, kind of a world unto itself. And if you'd like to just pass those down, there's two addresses that we did. 5 Foster there, the first one was 2 houses, 2 rundown houses, a rundown garage, a rundown barn, another rundown outbuilding that we demolished, and we did the substitution to put a nice duplex in there in its place. 7 Foster, again, a terribly rundown house that didn't really warrant fixing it up, and we did the substitution there and created a very attractive 3-bedroom house, I believe. So for me, this project is still is a project in work still at 24 years. This house had been occupied when I bought it. I had a long-term tenant that was there until just a couple years ago. When we bought these properties, I never had to displace anybody that lived in them. The conditions weren't good. Two of 16 houses actually had central heat. They were rough. But we never had to displace anybody, and I'd had a lady that lived in one of these houses. Well, actually both were occupied. 46 Smith was occupied for a couple years. A fellow moved on. We actually started to think about renovating it, and geez, the old, how do you make a silk purse out of a house here? And we'll just put this one off and work on others. So, and we couldn't work on one without doing them both. The houses were originally 2 separate houses. Somewhere over time, around 1900, they became one. They connected one to the other. There's no foundation under it, just one house is hanging on to the other one. So it's a difficult build, but I think I think the plan that we came up with here, once it became vacant, then I could start thinking about I've thought for years what I could do when and if the time comes, it becomes available to do it. And I've gone through idea after idea. This last idea, I really like the idea of using the feeling there of that little narrow alley, Foster Place, and creating something that looks like an urban row house situation, trying to make as nice a situation out of it as we can. I know, well, as stated there, we are decreasing the building footprint considerably, increasing setbacks, not to mention offering quality, comfortable, efficient housing. And I think it's something that will just really fit particularly with the HDL across the street, that kind of a manufacturing or commercial kind of look. I think it would fit in better than anything I can think of. I presented the plan that you have. I did talk to the code inspector that reviewed the plan, and we went over it. Of course, got my denial to build, which of course was expected. And if I mentioned to him later after submitting it that I had another thought on it, and that would be entertaining the idea of 3 parking spaces as opposed to 4. And he said, well, it'd probably be best just to bring that up at the meeting. I think it offers some advantages. And I drew out, well, it's just eliminating one of the 4 spaces. So it's still providing a space per unit. I have 1-bedroom units. I have 3 now. Well, I know the permit says occupancy of 6. It would be, I would want an occupancy permit of 6, but in 35 years of my 1-bedrooms that I have, I can think of, I can't count them, but maybe 4 times in 35 years where people have shared the apartment. The occupancy is 1. In the last 10 years, I had 1. And even then, we did not have any parking. I have parking available. Well, that's another issue to come to. But what that would do, it would also bring the space requirement into conformity. It would give a little more yard. The total coverage, it's on the board there. The total coverage should bring that into conformity to have a little extra yard. I do have the other properties where I have more parking than I do have tenants. 5 more spaces than I have tenants, but we never have every tenant with a car. So I have extra spaces available should it become an issue. I think it would be a rarity. Plus we have Union Street parking right next door. I think the extra lot area would be nice. And I don't think I'm missing anything. I think I'm still being able to offer a parking space to go with each unit.
This additional parking that you have, how far are they from the existing building?
Just a couple hundred feet.
Okay.
I don't know if the lots are all my properties there. They all
Okay.
contiguous and continuous, and it's just right next door.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. So if the board would see to like and approve the idea, I'd like, if possible, maybe discuss the parking issue. Again, I blotted out from what I believe you do have, one of the parking spaces, and so we're not looking like that.
No, you're actually increasing from 1 to either 3 or 4. That would be an improvement. That would be an increase.
Oh, yeah, right now it's,
Yeah.
it's virtually none. And I think that's it.
Okay, any questions from the board to the appellant? I have a question while you're thinking. When you say you are going to reduce the footprint, so are you tearing down part of a building or?
Tearing down the 2 houses that are there.
Okay.
Clearing the lot totally.
Oh, you're totally demolishing the lot?
Everything, right. The new structure would be pretty much in the area where the single-story part with the metal roof is now, right on Smith Street. And the 1.5-story building is where the parking would be.
Okay, see, that was the question that I originally had, was if it's going to be a total demolishment, then would it still the substitute work?
Yes.
I mean, what we are basically saying, they're starting a brand new building with all these nonconformities.
And that it would be a substitution for the non-conforming
This current
buildings that are presently there.
And everything that I'm doing is further into conformity.
Okay.
I can't meet conformity
Yeah.
on a
This lot-
37-foot wide lot.
This lot been out of conformity for how long? For,
Well, since the zoning laws were put in place.
Okay, you may be seated for now, and then we'll find out if there's anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request. Can be heard now. Anyone wishing to speak in general or in opposition can be heard now. Okay, we're going to close the discussion from the floor. Any discussion on board?
Nope.
Mr. Baum, I know you would love to read this thing.
I'm not going to read the whole, what I'm
I know
going to
you
do is
would.
say,
That's what I asked you.
I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals grant the request under section ACC 230502A as a substitution for one conforming structure to another conforming structure as indicated in the agenda. And may be clarified because I had to do it also, it's from a 10-person structure to a 6-person structure.
Second?
Second, with non-conforming, not conforming.
Yeah, you said conforming. I
Oh,
heard
I
non-
meant
so it should be
non-conforming.
Non-conforming, yeah.
also, he's going to do from 4 to 3
You want me to
spaces.
just put the whole thing in?
Put the whole thing
verbatim?
in.
Okay.
And he's going from 4 spaces to 3 spaces, correct? Or you can change the parking spaces?
I was leaving that
That's what
board
he's,
to discuss.
that's not in my motion yet. If someone wants to amend the motion to allow 3 rather than 4, he or she is
Could you go
able
back
to do
over
it.
there for a second? You said you could provide 4 parking space, but going to 3, you said there was some benefits. What are those benefits?
Extra open area, but what it does is, let me find it here.
Count 3.
Because we always like to have more parking, so.
Total,
Yeah, it leaves the
okay,
space there.
total lot coverage with the 4 spaces is as proposed with 4 spaces is 65%, where 60 is the minimum, or
Okay,
is the maximum allowance. Taking one of those spaces out reduces my coverage, the lot coverage.
okay. But I think the board's preference usually would be more space for the parking would be better than having less lot coverage, but it's up to you.
Well,
No, it's up to
yeah,
us.
I just feel that I can provide the parking if I need it.
Okay,
I don't, I don't
we'd
have,
rather have 4, right?
Well, the motion presently is 4. If someone on the
Right,
board
yeah.
wants to amend that
Okay.
to change it to
No, we
3,
keep
he or
it
she
4.
is capable of doing so.
Yeah, 4 would be fine.
Okay, 4 it is. Do we have a second?
I do,
Kay,
yeah.
okay, Kay, second. And then, do we have any other? I think that this nonconformity is less objectionable than what it is. In almost every case, there is an improvement.
Yeah.
So that's my discussion. We don't have to go through the findings. Anybody else has any other?
Well, I would just say I agree that whenever you're improving a situation, it is to the betterment of the city of Athens. With a lot size of 3,700 square feet, there's absolutely no way you would ever meet any city code because of that. And there's no way we can redo the plat of the city of Athens and the whole central part. So I think this is an improvement and worthy of our support.
So in that case, let's vote. All in favor of this substitution, raise your hand. We got 5-0. Case number 2. This is a lot shorter. Case number 1806B. The property is at 406 Elmwood Place. The zone is R1, and Mr. Nick Cohn is the appellant. The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 230314 to allow a fence with a 0 feet front setback where 25 feet is the minimum requirement. Are we good on that? Okay. I know the next door neighbor, they had a sidewalk, and the sidewalk stops at his property. So any chance of ever the city wants to put a sidewalk in there?
I don't even know if it's part of the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Would the appellant please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the records?
Hi, my name is Nick Kuhn. Address is 406 Elmwood Place, which is where I'm applying for the variance.
Would you like to say anything?
Sure. So I'm a 10-year resident, brand new homeowner. I've been renting for about 9-10 years now. Just moved in last month, actually. Love the property. Love being a permanent resident of Athens. The reason why I'm requesting the variance is because so my property is on the corner of Elmwood and Holmes Street. And the home itself is actually towards the back corner of the property. So I don't have a back yard. All of my yard is in full view adjacent to the street. It also runs parallel, the property runs parallel to the road and not really perpendicular like a lot of lots. So as you said, the neighbors have a sidewalk that runs right up to where my yard begins. It ends there. And then I have yard where that sidewalk would be with a line of trees. It's very nice. It's really pretty. What I'm looking to do is I would like to place a 3.5-foot tall white picket fence. I'm not looking for a privacy fence to keep people from looking into my yard or anything.
Like your neighbor?
Right. I'm actually just looking to, I have small pets. I have friends with small children. I'd like to keep them out of the road. I know we haven't had a nice sunny day in a while, but when we do have one, it would be nice to be able to go outside and enjoy the yard. I don't want to get the yard that's adjacent to Home Street, and where the fence would end, which is where it meets where my small driveway would be, is 20 feet away from that intersection. So I don't foresee it causing an obstruction of field of view coming to and from that road. And as you said, there are several other properties that seem to have fences that are beyond where that right of way would be. So I would like to enjoy the same rights if possible. I don't have any other to add besides what I've already submitted. If there's any questions for me, I'd be willing to.
I was looking at it today and I thought if you just come in line with the same as your neighbor, put the fence just behind the trees, that might actually look nicer.
I wouldn't be opposed to it,
Okay.
to be honest. So.
What was your plan, to put right by the curb?
Yeah, that was the original plan, but again, with the trees and everything, it's...
You still have plenty of room
yeah,
back there.
It's not really gonna, if I put it behind, it's not losing out on
It may
all
just
things.
look nicer, I don't know.
I would probably agree with you.
Okay.
I just think the issue for me is if I go in line and stay within code, it's going to just cut my yard in half. And
No. I'm just talking right by the trees.
Right.
You may have mentioned this, but you are aware you'll also have to go to city council to get a
Yeah.
variance to put it in the right-of-way.
Yes. Yep, I'm willing to.
Any other questions from the board members? Jessica, you can ask questions too.
Yeah, I don't have it in this one. It was actually well.
Okay.
I read the whole thing. It's very well
Oh,
written. So
thank you.
For what I know about the case.
Okay,
Have we heard anything from any of the neighbors or the?
well, I'm just going to go right now
Okay.
to that. You may be seated. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this request? Anyone wishing to speak in general comment or in opposition to this request? Seems that there is no objection. I don't have any letters from neighbors in the files, so we're good to go. Anyone wants to make a motion?
Sure.
Okay.
I move that the board grant a variance in case 1806V, 406 Elmwood Place, Zone R1, from ACC 230314 to allow a fence with a 0-foot front setback where 25 feet is the minimum requirement.
Second?
Okay. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. I would say that being the corner lot and the way the building is situated, and he doesn't have really a backyard, so-called backyard. So maybe he needs a little bit more of a safety zone for pets and children. That would be a special.
Yeah, if the house were turned facing east, then that would be his backyard, and there'd be no problem.
Yeah. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. I'm not going to read all of it, but this kind of supports the first one.
Yeah.
Preservation of equal property rights. Certainly, the next door neighbor at least has some fencing, and you folks jump in if you need to add more. Is this minimum variance?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Absence of detriment.
No?
Not of a general nature.
No?
Are we ready to vote?
Yes?
All in favor of the variance, please raise your hand. We got 5-0. Congratulations. Let's go to the last case. That is case number 18-7V. The property is at 859 East State Street. Zone is M. Jeremiah Hunter is the appellant. Appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 2303-13I1I to allow a front wall sign with 0 feet edge setback, where 3 feet 8 inches is the minimum distance, and a side wall sign with a 2 feet setback, where 20 feet is the minimum distance. Anything to add?
Basically, what they want to do at the new restaurant down there where Abrio's used to be, it's now a commercial duplex. On one side is K Jewelers, the other side is going to be a restaurant. What the sign person wants to do is at that corner, that front corner there, they want to put their sign and their logo right up on that corner as close to it as we can. Our sign ordinance says that the sign has to be 10% of the width of the building away from that corner.
Oh,
So that's basically what they want to do. They want to put that sign, instead of centering it, they want to put it up
Okay.
against that corner, both on the front and on the side.
okay. So being raised from the wall is not the issue?
No,
Okay, just the corner.
just the
Okay.
corner.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm not too sure what it is they're putting up. Is the word Ordino what we're talking about, or is it this
Qdoba.
sort of
You can ask
lattice
them
work?
specifics what the sign will say, but
They
yeah,
will-
it's
when
supposed to
they
say
come to the
Qdoba.
podium, you can ask
And I think that's part of their logo. and
I
stuff.
think they have
Okay.
something to
Yeah.
present.
There's a picture here too, showing what they want,
Yeah, there is a picture somewhere I saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
artwork.
Any questions for the code office? Okay. Would you please come to the podium and state your name, your address, and your case?
Some pictures here too, so.
Thank you very much.
This is their sign. This is the sign they're talking about. This is the regular, but this is
Oh, nice.
structural.
Good evening, my name's Matt Harridge. My address is 373 Timberline Parkway in Vienna, West Virginia. And I am a franchisee for the Qdoba Mexican Eats brand, as well as a Burger King franchisee. We've been in Burger King for a number of years, our family. We actually own the Burger King here in Athens, and so we're very familiar with the city. And we're wanting to expand in the city with another brand. We do have a Qdoba restaurant in Marietta, Ohio right now. This will be our second restaurant. And so I think sometimes the best way to describe what we're trying to do is a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if I might ask you to look or turn your attention to the handout, the sign that we're discussing here is what we really, in our brand, call an architectural element. We don't necessarily consider it signage, but it has been defined that way. If you look at the second draft here, the middle draft, you'll see looks like slats. And it has like a Q that is painted on those slats. And so this is a design element that's part of the new branding, and it's a really important part of who we are, and especially distinguishing us from other brands. And it is unfortunately, though, on the corner, and thus it's out of variance. So what we're asking for is your consideration of approving this design element that would sit on the corner. Basically, it's these metal slats or aluminum slats with a Q kind of embossed or painted on the corner itself, half of it being on one side of the building and the other half on the front side of the building. There's a lot of, we've described, I think, at length some of the issues of why we feel it's really important to have this as a part of our image. One of the things that with Qdoba, unlike our next competitor, I'm not going to mention their name, but we are not as well known. And this design element we really feel will distinguish us. People will see that, they know who we are. They'll know that we are Qdoba Mexican Eats. And so we're asking for a variance just for this particular piece of design. And if I can answer any questions, or I also have my business partner and the commercial contractor, Grant Horton, with us too, and he would be able to address any specific issues.
Is the one in Marietta on the main drag, on the main?
It is, right on Pike Street,
Okay,
right
that's
there
gonna
at the
save
corner.
me some trip to go in there once a month.
Oh, good. Well, we are very excited to get into town. We really feel like this is a great community for the brand. You know, we've been very pleased with our remodel. I think maybe you've noticed our Burger King. I will brag a little bit. We put a lot of money and a lot of effort into making very good-looking buildings, and we feel like this is going to be a real asset to the city and to that business community there.
And you will have fried ice cream, right?
Unfortunately, we won't do that. We do have brownies and we do have cookies, but that's a great idea.
Any questions for the appellant?
Is it just painted? It's not lit up?
No, there's no illumination. It's just a paint on the exterior. That's all it is.
So what's the full size of the front? Like front, if we're driving down East State from one corner to the end of to the edge of the sign.
The edge of the sign. I can tell you that I think exactly here. Let me look on the actual plan. Grant, do you have an idea on we can give him the exact dimensions?
Thinking about comparable to the building is it
It's
10%, 15%?
I'd say that's a good guess right there as far as the percentile. It is a very evident piece. I'll be very frank. It's when you see, it's been done in a number of Qdobas that have been newly built, and it is a very striking piece. But it really looks like a design element rather than signage. It just has a Q. It doesn't have our branding name or anything like that. The fact I think that we're putting that Q on there is really what's brought this into an issue of signage. But let me see if I can. It says that we're at 19 feet at the top of that building there, or I'm sorry, 21 feet at the top of the building, and then at 12 feet looks like right below that. I'm just kind of guessing here.
Oh, that's fine. I was just trying to see from corner to corner, but that's fine.
Yeah. But one of the things that we really feel is important about this too is that we're putting a really nice patio out there as well, and we really feel that there's something about the whole being greater than the sum of its parts. With that element right over our patio, it kind of gives it a little more of a destination piece to itself with its own structure around it, and so that's going to be centered or right on that corner of that patio. I think really making that an attractive looking building. Yes, sir.
I do. The picture in the packet shows this striated posts going all the way to the edge of the building.
Correct.
The one you just gave us only shows it at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
So I'm
if
just,
you look at
this one here, I don't know if you can see it from there,
Let me take a look.
Yeah, it's two different pictures.
but it shows these striations the whole width.
Oh, I mean,
Yes.
Those are just examples, that's not what we.
That's
What we showed them is what they.
the one that is. This is not. These are just examples of what some people have done.
Okay.
This is our real.
This is the
actual
real,
plan.
okay,
It's just
that's
that
why I was
corner.
confused.
Thank you. Yeah, that's absolutely.
And that's,
Sir, please come to the podium so we can all hear you. And state your name and address.
My name is Grant Wharton, 373 Timberline Parkway, Vienna, West Virginia.
That's the final.
The one
final.
question that
It's just an example.
I heard was that how far from the corner
They're not
to
doing
the
that,
back
they'll
of the
need
Q
doing.
screen, it's 8.5 feet. And the pictures that Matt handed out are the actual sign package we would like to install.
So it's smaller than the one that was originally turned in. The one we looking at is that one, but this is the new one.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
That was a
is what they
rendering by
submitted.
the architect.
This is what they're.
Related question. The front view shows the up and down bars going to the corner of the building. The side view shows a separation between the corner of the building and the first up and down. Is that meant to be one solid going around the corner, or are you in fact having two signs?
No, that the Q screen comes together.
It's supposed to come together. It just doesn't show it on here.
It would have to wrap around.
So this is pretty much.
It's the same queue can be seen on both sides, right? Or are they two
Yeah,
queues?
it is. That is the same.
Same-
queue.
So the
same
Q is here and the Q is
Part
here.
of it's on one corner, part of it's on the other.
So yeah, so it wrap. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
If I
I
may,
was referring to
Hold on one
this.
second.
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the things I would just point out to you is that I think the issue is with the total amount of signage, and this makes it, if this is considered signage in excess. One of the things we've noticed just even in our neighbor, which is the Tim Hortons, is they have it's like a silver band that goes around the entire exterior with advertising basically on what they sell, biscuits or donuts, things like that. And I guess I feel like what we're doing is really not that much unlike that. I think if that was to be included in signage, they would be over as well. But that's just part of their design element for their building too. And this just happens to be the way we distinguish ourselves.
There's no problem with the size of the sign.
Right.
In Qdoba's case, only where they're placed.
Okay.
They're supposed to be so far off the. I only know that because I had to do with my building.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it had to be so far set back on the building. But I got a billboard, so it's a big sign.
Any questions? You may be seated for
Thank you.
now. Is anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request?
Make people come by, yes.
In general comments or in opposition to this request? Okay, we're going to close discussion from the floor. And unless there is a discussion, somebody should maybe make a. Aaron, you want to?
Let's see. Vote towards the grant, a variance for appellant requesting variance from ACC 23.03.13 I1I to allow a front wall sign with a 0-foot edge setback where 3 feet 8 inches is the minimum distance, and a side wall sign with a 2-foot setback where 20 feet 2 inches is the minimum distance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Baum, second. Going quickly through the findings, exceptional circumstances.
Yeah.
I think the exceptional circumstances, which is not really with respect to the property, but it signifies their business for some reason, since this is a sign.
I think
We
it's part
argue
of,
that way?
I think it's part of the branding. It
Yeah,
might be
yeah.
required for the actual branding of
Yeah,
the
because,
business.
this is actually because of the sign we are discussing, so I would say with respect to the sign would be an exception because that's the part of their branding. Do you all agree?
Yes.
Okay. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. I would say somebody coming from Marietta may not recognize it without the Q.
It's a national brand, so it's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Preservation of equal property rights.
Yeah.
Each of those establishments, they have their own signage and branding.
Yeah.
Minimum variance. it is minimum to make a good use of the signage. Absence of detriment. None?
No,
And not of a general nature?
No.
no.
No. Okay, all in favor of this variance, please raise your hand. You have 5-0. Okay, the disposition of minutes from January 9, 2018. I have read it, and I didn't find anything in there. Anybody else? Those of you who were here present, you may vote. Please raise your hand
need a
if you
motion.
approve.
We need a
I move
motion.
that we approve the minutes from last month.
Second.
Okay, now,
Present.
so we got 3, at least 4. Okay. And Mr. Eschenbacher, do you have any idea how many cases we might have next month?
1 so far.
1 so far. I'd like to suggest that if we're going to have 1 or 2, we invite the city law director for a training for the board on ethics. So would that be okay?
Obviously, we'll know 2 weeks beforehand how many cases.
Okay,
so.
okay. Please let us know. We will plan on it and tentatively and see if we can schedule her. And finally, on February, we select a new chair for our board. And we are taking any nominations or self-nominations?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
the applicants may leave. They don't have to sit through this process if they wish to leave.
Mr. Chapman, this is yours. I already know what the neighborhood looks like.
Thank you.
My friend lived over in college, and I look at it now like, whew.
Yeah, yeah.
Good luck.
I don't need that.
have a good night.
Okay, are you?
We accept self-nomination and any
I
nomination.
move that John Golsey be nominated as chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I second that.
Again. You do it so well.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I guess I have it. Well, it's been an honor to be serving as the chair, and I have enjoyed it, so I look forward for another year.
Just glad you feel honored.
We really do.
So, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Second.